In a world where shallow minds are loud and easily manipulated, how can you become the one who sees everything while remaining unseen? This video reveals the hidden psychology behind deep thinkers, those rare individuals who influence outcomes not with noise, but with quiet domination. Learn how to think deeply, move strategically, and never be predictable again. The mythology of the world would have you believe that some men are born wise, that depth is inherited like a bloodline. But this is a convenient lie told by the weak to justify their mediocrity. Depth is not gifted, it is earned. It is extracted in painful increments from silence, from solitude, and from the confrontation with one's own mind. The deep thinker is not a romantic figure sitting under the moon contemplating stars. He is a warrior of thought, forged in fire, not fantasy. Isolation is not a punishment for such a man. It is a crucible. When the noise of society is silenced, the real battle begins. In solitude, there is no distraction from the tormenting parade of internal doubts, fears, and questions. And it is precisely within this brutal environment that the mind sharpens itself. The common man avoids being alone with his thoughts. He seeks entertainment, distraction, and validation. But the deep thinker hunts silence like prey, because he understands that truth is born there, not in the applause of fools. In isolation, the mind becomes surgical. Without the clatter of other voices, it begins to dissect the world with cold precision. It sees patterns others miss. It notices cause beneath chaos. Where most see events, the deep thinker sees systems. He peers into the structure of power, the mechanics of manipulation, the motivations behind every mask. But this clarity does not come cheap. It demands the sacrifice of comfort, of companionship, and often of innocence. Society punishes the one who withdraws. It brands him arrogant, strange, or dangerous, and perhaps he is all three. But what the crowd cannot comprehend is that his detachment is not born from disdain. It is born from necessity. Depth cannot thrive in the marketplace of noise. The thinker must retreat from the echo chamber to discover original thought. This withdrawal is not a sign of weakness. It is a deliberate act of intellectual self-preservation. There is no enlightenment without the darkness of being alone. To think deeply is to wrestle with ideas that threaten the very foundations of one's identity. It is to challenge assumptions that others cling to like religion. The deep thinker must demolish his own beliefs before he can understand the beliefs of others. He must break himself before he can see clearly. And only the solitude of isolation allows this destruction and reconstruction to occur without interruption. Isolation is also a test. Most cannot bear it. They grow anxious, restless, or bored. But the deep thinker is not frightened by the abyss. He studies it. He documents its dimensions. He stares into it until the abyss begins to blink. And from this confrontation, he emerges with something rare and independent mind. A mind not owned by the crowd, not swayed by trends, not addicted to approval. And yet, this solitude does not breed fragility. On the contrary, it breeds strategy. It breeds foresight. It breeds clarity. The deep thinker, having walked alone through the wilderness of the self, knows his own weaknesses better than any enemy could discover them. He has made peace with his demons, and therefore, they cannot be used against him. His silence is not emptiness, it is armor. His quiet is not passive, it is tactical. The world may forget the loud and flamboyant quickly, but it will never forget the man who, from the shadows of his own mind, learned to move history with a single idea. And such a man does not emerge from crowds or conversations. He emerges from silence, from the long, brutal refinement of the soul in solitude, from the uncomfortable spaces where there is no applause, no affirmation, and no witness. There, and only there, is the deep thinker truly born. The ordinary man speaks to be noticed. He decorates his language with borrowed ideas, rehearsed phrases, and moral slogans that comfort the masses. He performs intelligence like a trained actor, hoping for applause. But the deep thinker does not speak for decoration. He does not think in order to impress. He thinks to survive, to conquer, and to dominate. His thoughts are not ornaments. They are weapons, sharpened in silence and concealed until the moment of execution. In a world addicted to superficiality, the deep thinker is dangerous precisely because he does not reveal his intellect easily. His mind is a vault, not a window. While others vomit their opinions at every opportunity, hoping to signal virtue or cleverness, the deep thinker withholds. He listens more than he speaks, and when he finally speaks, it is with surgical intent. His words are never accidental. They are deployed, calculated, chosen for effect, not approval. He does not participate in intellectual theater. He does not argue to be right. He studies the battlefield before he ever utters a single word. He measures the psychological terrain of his opponent, calculates the emotional weight of the moment, and waits for the exact second where a single phrase can collapse the entire structure of someone else's belief. That is not decoration. That is warfare. The deep thinker knows the power of timing. He understands that ideas, no matter how brilliant, are useless if delivered too early, too late, or to the wrong audience. A sword drawn too soon can be deflected. A thought shared too early can be mocked, misunderstood, or stolen. So he waits. He allows the environment to shift, the pressure to build, the need for a solution to become unbearable. And then, when the silence screams for guidance, he speaks. One sentence, one insight, and the entire atmosphere changes. His thinking is not reactive. It is strategic. He does not respond emotionally, nor does he answer every provocation. Instead, he stores information. He watches how people move, how they lie, how they contradict themselves. His silence is never passive. It is observant. He is always hunting for psychological leverage, for weak points in ideology, for cracks in belief systems that can be exploited. And when he finds them, he does not rush. He sharpens his thoughts like blades. Every word becomes an incision. To most people, conversation is noise. To the deep thinker, it is reconnaissance. While others waste time arguing, he extracts data. He learns what motivates, what frightens, what provokes, and what comforts. He understands that knowledge is not power until it is converted into precise, targeted expression. A well-timed idea can ruin a man's reputation. A single insight, delivered coldly and without emotion, can reduce an enemy to self, doubt, and silence. That is not philosophy. It is psychological warfare. Deep thinkers are not in love with their own voice. They do not need to be heard. They need to be effective. Their words are not designed to charm. They are designed to influence. They understand that truth alone is not enough. Truth must be shaped, packaged, and delivered with precision to have power. And sometimes it must be concealed entirely, held back like a hidden dagger, until its revelation serves a greater purpose. Their minds are arsenals, full of quiet strategies, invisible maps, and weapons no one suspects exist. They are not interested in winning arguments. They are interested in changing trajectories. They are not concerned with being agreed with. They are focused on being undeniable. Their thoughts are disciplined, trained, and lethal. Not because they read more books, but because they treat their ideas like tools of domination, not symbols of virtue. Most people speak to be admired. Deep thinkers think to control outcomes. Their ideas are not put on display like artwork. They are concealed like traps, waiting for the moment when they must be sprung. And in that moment, the thinker does not flinch. He does not hesitate. He strikes. His thought is not a decoration. It is a weapon that leaves no blood, but many casualties. In a world where emotion is worshipped as authenticity and sensitivity is paraded as virtue, the deep thinker walks an entirely different path. He does not display his inner world for public consumption. He does not wear his heart on his sleeve because he knows the cost of exposing it. Emotion to him is not an accessory to be flaunted. It is a vulnerability to be understood, managed, and if necessary, hidden. His detachment is not a defect in his nature, but a deliberate strategy. While others are swept into chaos by their emotional tides, he stands at a cold distance, observing the storm as a tactician watches a battlefield. Emotional distance is not indifference. The deep thinker feels deeply, sometimes more deeply than the average man, but he does not act upon every impulse. He dissects his feelings before expressing them. He does not believe in the modern myth that emotion must lead behavior. Instead, he treats his emotions as data, signals to be analyzed, not dictators to be obeyed. He studies his rage without unleashing it. He contemplates his sorrow without drowning in it. And in doing so, he earns power over himself, an internal sovereignty that cannot be bought or imitated. This emotional distance allows him to engage with the world without becoming a slave to it. He can speak to fools without becoming foolish, debate liars without becoming one, and sit among hypocrites without needing their approval. He is not easily seduced by praise nor easily wounded by insult. Praise to him is often a manipulation, criticism a tool to probe his reaction, and so he responds not with reflex, but with restraint. His detachment unnerves people because it reveals how predictable they truly are. They try to provoke him, to pull emotion out of him, not because they want connection, but because they need control. And when he does not respond, they feel powerless. The deep thinker understands that control over one's emotions is the foundation of control over circumstances. To react emotionally is to become readable, and to be readable is to be vulnerable. A man who cannot conceal his emotional state becomes a puppet in the hands of those who understand the levers of psychology. The deep thinker chooses not to be that man. He trains his face, his tone, his presence to remain composed even under provocation. Not because he feels nothing, but because he refuses to become anyone's instrument. He has studied the cost of emotional entanglement. He has seen how passion destroys reason, how affection blinds judgment, how envy poisons strategy. He understands that sentiment is the currency of those who cannot negotiate with strength. And so, he builds a fortress around his emotions, not to deny them, but to ensure they serve him and not the other way around. His compassion is deliberate. His anger is weaponized. His sorrow is private. Every feeling has its place, and its place is behind discipline. This distance also grants him vision. Free from the fog of emotional chaos, he sees the long game. While others make decisions based on how they feel in the moment, he calculates what must be done regardless of comfort. He can walk away from temptation. He can delay gratification. He can choose silence when provoked, and action when others hesitate. This is not coldness, it is clarity. Emotional distance removes the noise so the signal becomes undeniable. Relationships, too, are shaped differently for the deep thinker. He does not attach quickly. He studies before he trusts. He does not fall into emotional dependency because he has already learned how to be whole in solitude. This makes him immune to manipulation through affection. Flattery does not move him. Guilt does not bind him. And love, if it is to mean anything to him, must survive the fire of his scrutiny. He does not enter relationships to feel complete. He enters them when they align with his purpose. The world calls this emotional detachment strange, perhaps even dangerous. But that is because most people confuse emotional chaos with authenticity. The deep thinker sees through this illusion. He knows that the man who is ruled by emotion is not authentic. He is owned. And to be owned is to be enslaved. So he remains distant, not because he lacks depth, but because he refuses to let anyone else decide what he feels, when he feels it, or how he must respond. His emotional distance is not a flaw. It is his shield, his compass, and his crown. The masses kneel before truth as if it were a divine idol, eternal and unquestionable. They worship it blindly, assuming that to speak it is always noble, and to conceal it is always sin. But the deep thinker does not romanticize truth. He uses it. He understands that truth, in the hands of the knave, becomes a chain. But in the hands of the calculating, it becomes a sword. It can liberate or destroy, enlighten or manipulate, depending on when, how, and to whom it is delivered. He does not serve truth, he commands it. The average mind clings to truth like a child to its blanket, believing that it protects them from the evils of the world. But the deep thinker sees further. He understands that reality is not fixed. It is elastic. What is true today may be obsolete tomorrow. What is true for one man may mean ruin for another. The deep thinker does not merely seek truth for its own sake. He asks, what can this truth do? Who will it weaken? Who will it embolden? When is it best to reveal it? And when is it better to bury it under silence? He knows that men are not moved by truth, but by timing. A fact delivered too early is ignored. A revelation spoken too late is useless. But the right truth, spoken at the moment of maximum vulnerability, can unmake reputations, crush alliances, or ignite revolutions. This is not deceit, it is precision. And precision is what separates the manipulator from the fool, the strategist from the martyr. The deep thinker is not concerned with appearing virtuous. He is concerned with being effective. He does not feel obligated to reveal everything he knows. Full transparency is a demand made by those who have no power and no plan. The deep thinker guards his insights like a monarch guards his treasury. He does not waste them on ears that are deaf or minds that are unprepared. He understands that some truths only harm when spoken aloud. Some destroy illusions that are useful. Others provoke resistance when silence would have ensured surrender. Truth, for him, is not a moral duty. It is a weapon of influence, best wielded with precision and caution. Even the truths he accepts, he examines again and again. He does not cling to dogma or tradition. He dissects beliefs like a surgeon, separating what is useful from what is sentimental. If a truth no longer serves him, he discards it without regret. If a lie is more effective in the moment, he will use it without apology. Not because he is immoral, but because he is unconcerned with being liked. The only loyalty he has is to outcome and advantage. That is his compass, not blind devotion to abstract ideals. The deep thinker also understands that people do not want truth. They want certainty. And certainty is rarely found in truth, which is complex, uncomfortable, and often painful. People follow the one who speaks with confidence, not the one who speaks with accuracy. The thinker uses this flaw to his benefit. He dresses truth in certainty when he must lead. He cloaks it in ambiguity when he must deceive. He can appear honest while hiding entire realities beneath his words, because he understands that truth is rarely in the words themselves, but in how they are received and used. When he engages with others, he measures their capacity for truth before revealing it. He knows that not everyone deserves the same level of clarity. Some minds collapse under harsh illumination. Others rebel against it. So he tailors his truths to the psychological architecture of the audience. To the simple, he offers simplicity. To the sophisticated, nuance. To the unstable, illusion. Not out of malice, but out of strategy. Because a truth that provokes destruction, where peace is needed, is not a virtue. It is a failure in application. The deep thinker is not seduced by the idea of truth as inherently good. He has seen it ruin men who could not handle its weight. He has seen it used as a club by the self-righteous and as a disguise by the cunning. He does not pretend that truth is a neutral force. It is a weapon, a mirror, a poison, or a cure, depending on who holds it, how it is used, and why. His mind treats it like fire capable of light, warmth, and destruction. He respects it, manipulates it, and when necessary, conceals it, not out of cowardice, but out of discipline. Because to him, truth is never holy. It is always tactical. The deep thinker is not a product of chance or circumstance. He is a deliberate creation. Forged in the crucible of solitude, he rejects the comforts of the herd and embraces the agony of self-confrontation. While the world craves noise, he seeks silence, knowing that clarity only rises from stillness. He does not parade his intellect like a trophy, nor does he waste it on applause. His thoughts are not for decoration. They are instruments of influence, deployed with surgical precision only when the moment demands. He does not bend to the chaos of emotion. He watches as others drown in their impulses, while he remains anchored in discipline. Emotion does not blind him. It informs him, but only as data. He acts with control because he knows that a man who cannot command his feelings cannot command his fate. In the heat of crisis, when others react, he remains composed, calculating his next move while others self-destruct. And when it comes to truth, he is not a priest, but a tactician. He sees it for what it truly is, a force, not a virtue. He uses it to weaken, to persuade, to dominate, not to conform to some artificial standard of honesty. He does not bow before truth. He bends it. He shapes it to fit the architecture of power, the timing of opportunity, and the demands of outcome. In the end, the psychology of deep thinkers is not about superiority of intellect. It is about superiority of control. Control over time, over words, over feelings, and most importantly, over self. He does not seek to be understood. He seeks to be undeniable. And in a world ruled by emotion, noise, and spectacle, it is the deep thinker, unseen, unread, and unshaken, who holds the invisible scepter of true power.